too, but how the mood of the team is?
Yeah, really good mood. I think it's like no overreactions. I think the other thing is the shot variance the last two games has been extreme, especially in that last game. And we're actually getting it's interesting because I didn't even realize post-game the shooting numbers because the shot quality was so good. So it's like if we weren't finding high quality threes, then yes, that would be more of an issue. Literally, we weren't making them. So and my attention was more on other things because even in spite of the shooting, I still felt we could have won that game just because there are other things that we could control that we weren't doing. So I think for us, these two practice days are so important, Sean, because Megan said it, we practiced the least just because we had the most games. And for a team like us, the practice is even more important than normal. So we had three main intentions for today's practice, and kind of these three intentions are just kind of what we're seeing after this first stretch of games for what we can do better. So we're basically going to have this for the next kind of 8 games. We're going to be like completely focused on these three things. And I think we all said like, we can't believe we're 6 and 7, despite some of these things which are alarming that can be made so much better.
How do you the players having that time? Because as a coach, obviously you want to win the game, but you're not the one that's out there playing, and you can kind of stay focused on like our process is good. But if you're a player, you're more, you're a competitor, you're mad that you won a game. How do you keep the players kind of having that thing long perspective?
Absolutely. So I think the balance is really important because after a loss, I do want them to feel something. Because I think, when I've watched rebuilding teams over the years, the competitiveness for me is the thing that gets neglected the most. And that to me does not help you develop winning habits when those young players develop in, 2-3 years. So we want to feel something after a loss because we're competitors and we're building that culture of grit, toughness, etc. But then it's balancing that with how we respond post-game. We have to be very calm as coaches. So it's always talking about the things that we had control over that we could have done better. And then it's how we then hold the team accountable to that. So if we talk about something post-game, then it's like, all right, well, showing them after, this is what we spoke about. We either did it or we didn't do it. And this is what the numbers are saying. This is what the film is saying. So I hope that covers the question because it's a really good question that I haven't had the chance to answer yet.
Yeah, and the last couple of losses have been to teams that are kind of more where you guys are in the standings. Your next few games with, whether it being Vegas, Minnesota, and Dallas, those are teams that are like, it can be an even bigger test for you guys. Like, is this kind of a good time for you guys to kind of have to stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think, especially, last 2 games, 100%, teams where we could have, they're much closer to us in the standings. But I feel like, we've spoken about it, like we've brought our best game against the best teams in the league, but we've got to bring that every single night, regardless of who that opponent is.
I'm curious for you, Coach, through these 13 games with you as the head coach, what has kind of been your points of where you can remake the points back over the 13 games? You can get better.
Yeah, great. So we did this deep dive kind of after that LA game. Now we've got a decent sample size. So there's 3 factors we're going to be very, very detailed with in this next stretch of 10. The first one is pace. And our pace is not where it needs to be because we spoke about trying to be one of the fastest teams in the league. And we're actually 14th out of 15 right now in all the major pace metrics in terms of time that the ball takes to cross the half court, general speed of transition, and then transition opportunities. So that's why I think and it was really interesting just talking to Carla and Taya because they missed the start of training camp. It was literally just misunderstandings in terms of the importance of how we want to play with pace and actually not need the first action. So we spent a lot of our practice really focused on that. And I think if we can go from 14th to, by the end of the season, top 6, that's going to be huge for us. So that's going to be the first intention. The second intention is going to be our turnovers and looking at what we can do offensively. We put a couple things in today, but then just talking about details of pick and roll, and we are reliant on our ones to get the ball to the right spot, but there's a lot we can keep getting better at there. And then key number 3 is our defensive rebounding, and it's more making our 5s keep the other 5 from get it, and then having our guards and wings coming back to secure those. So that's going to be all us the next 10 games. It's those 3 things.
Going back to the turnovers, you guys in the last game, you only had 2 in the first half, and then you had, 13, 14 in the second half. What do you attribute that to?
It was such a tale of two halves, Sean. Like, I felt like the game plan the first half was perfect in terms of Kelsey had, I think that was her lowest points of the season. Game plan was elite. And then offensively, we spoke about how we wanted to avoid turnovers specifically, and we did a great job. And then out of the half, it just kind of went out the window a bit. I think they pressured us more and they started collapsing the paint. And then we weren't getting off it to find those 2-on-1s. We were kind of driving into those gap defenders. That's what sped us up, caused some of those turnovers. So and we did a really good diagnosis. I think the main thing is we know why that happened. And now it's just practices like today, tomorrow, making sure when the test is next there in the game, we don't revert to old habits.
That's what I was going to actually ask you Thursday. What is kind of some tests that Asia and Ace is kind of bring you? I know she's kind of one of those players that you probably may spotlight in practice a little bit. Curious how you're going to guard her and change.
Yeah, just it's obviously like such a dominant player. Like it's incredible just to see like what she brings from a combination of speed, power, and skill. It is so unique. So we've obviously got to have some special schemes in for that, because it's my whole thing is whatever the defense is, you're always going to give up something. But what I don't want to give up this year is like these special talents offensively, them just being able to come in and do the same that they do every game. It's like we want to force other players to beat us. So that's kind of always the mantra when we come up against these unique players.